G'day, I'm Debbie O'Shea, and this is the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, episode number 134. This podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Turrbal people. I acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. They were the first music makers on this land. And here we are with another real teacher with some real stories. We have Miranda Charters. We chatted for quite a while, so I've split this into 2 episodes because my feedback from you is that you would rather have closer to half-hour episodes than hour episodes. So that's my feedback. By the way, let me know if you like that or not. Send me an email, info@crescendo.com.au. Have a chat to me about it. I'm happy to be flexible, whatever my listeners most want. So for now, I have split this into 2 episodes. Now, we did talk for quite some time, as you've probably gathered, and at the beginning of the episode, I went off a little bit on a tangent. That's okay because I actually quite like tangents. And we spoke quite a bit about our journey to being accredited as highly accomplished teachers, which is not an easy process, but a very fulfilling, enriching process if you can survive it. No, it wasn't that bad. I shouldn't do that. It just felt that bad sometimes. A great self-reflection tool going through this process. So we do get a bit sidetracked talking about our hats, highly accomplished teachers, but we also get stuck into those questions, and you're going to love listening to Miranda. Just such a great person. So here is part 1 of my chat with Miranda Charters. And I would like to welcome to the Crescendo Music Education Podcast, Miranda Charters. Hello, Miranda.
Hello, Debbie. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's so lovely to have your perspective in our Real Teachers, Real Stories series. I'm very much looking forward to it. And Miranda, before I read your bio, is a fellow hat. Oh, that's in your bio. Good, we'll get to that. It's a nice little group of us music educators, hat music educators. We sort of infiltrate the system in a different way. All right.
We sure do.
Here's your bio. Miranda has worked as a classroom music specialist with Education Queensland for over 20 years. She has also taught in the New South Wales Cathedral Sorry, Jen, can you cut that bit out? Thank you. Miranda has worked as a classroom music specialist with Education Queensland for over 20 years. She has also taught with New South Wales Cathedral and did a short contract at the Singapore Australian International School in 2012. She holds a Bachelor of Creative Arts in Music, a grad dip in music, and a grad dip in education. With her background in vocal pedagogy, she has a keen interest in children's singing and choral work. In 2023, Miranda gained the certification of Highly Accomplished Teacher, which we affectionately just call HAT, through AITSL, and continues to work to support other music teachers within her own school and beyond. She believes that every child should have access to music education and loves the joy and connection music brings to her students. Miranda has been teaching at Wilston State School since 2013. So in a nutshell, that's Miranda. Anything else pop in your head that you want to say before we go to our questions?
I'm just listening to you read that through, and I thought, like, teaching for over 20 years is a long time. And I suppose coming today, thinking about, my career as a music teacher and how I've grown over that time, hearing all of those things come back to me then just makes me think of that. So hopefully we can get into a bit of that today, maybe when we talk just about that journey as a teacher, because it's always ongoing, isn't it? It really is.
Yes. And I actually think that's probably the key to being a teacher long term into longevity is to be able to reflect and enjoy the journey. I know it's a bit cliche, isn't it? Enjoy the journey.
Well, I think it's growing as well because, in anything we do, I mean, you might get to that point where you go, I've mastered this, but there's always room to grow. And I think once you stop doing that, that's when it becomes a drag, or, you stop enjoying what you're doing. So I think we need to be doing that. We need to be pushing ourselves to try new things, and to put ourselves in situations that might not be uncomfortable, but to expand our knowledge there.
Yes, I could
Mm.
not agree more. And I think for me, and I know for you, because we did journey a little bit together on it,
Yes.
that hat journey was
Mm.
certainly a journey of reflection and growth.
Absolutely. And when you're in it, you kind of go, oh, have I done the right thing doing this? Because it is hard work, and it's just a monster to put together the portfolio that's required for the highly accomplished teacher certification. But I think what I didn't realize was that it was totally professional development all the way through. Like, it's not about showing you're a good teacher, it's about growing as a good teacher. And I learned so much from connecting with not only other music teachers, but also the other teachers in my school, because sometimes as music teachers, we're very isolated. We don't always have a team around us, but that gave me permission to kind of go out of my comfort zone and work with the classroom teachers and with administration on certain projects. And I really loved it. I was like, it really gave me inspiration and excitement for what I was doing again. So for that, it was worthwhile, and I learned so much. I really did.
Yes, I'm
Mm,
agreeing with you 100%.
mm,
Yeah, but gee, it was hard.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I actually did quit in the middle of it. I
Did
don't.
you? I didn't know
Oh, didn't I
that.
tell you? Yes. But I had already put in uh, well over 6 months serious work. And
Yep.
I just said, do you know what? This is so much work. I'm out. I'm out. And as you know, I did the journey with Deb. So it was, Deb, I'm out. That's it. And she sort
Mm.
of left me alone for a little while. And then gradually I went, oh, I'm not going to get all that work I've already done. No, no, I'll get back on the horse. And I
Good
did.
on you. Yeah, and
Uh,
we're so thankful that you did, because you guys helped me and our other music colleagues so much in that zone of that exact zone. I don't know if I can keep going. And you do need a friend, don't you? You really need someone to be doing it with you, because that also takes a load off. It helps you to understand the process more. You can vent to that person. And I don't think, unless you're doing it with someone or someone has done it, no one really understands what it's actually like. So you really do need that support.
I could not agree more. And this whole conversation could be transplanted as um, a music teacher. If you don't have
Mm,
another music teacher that you can work with, the other teachers in your school, they certainly offer something, as we just talked about, but
mm.
it's not the same.
No, it's
You
not.
need to have other music teachers on your journey with you that you can reach
Mm,
out to, that you can vent to when appropriate, as long as we don't get too,
mm.
that you can ask for help. Um, I'm agreeing 100%. Okay, now we haven't even started on the questions. We
Okay,
got we got sidetracked, which is great. I love sidetracks. They're interesting. All right,
they are.
here we go. As a teacher, how would
Mm.
you define success?
That's a very big question, Debbie. There's a lot of layers to that question. I think when I probably started teaching, I probably thought, oh, it's about other people telling me I'm a good teacher and getting, maybe the kids are getting good marks for what we're doing, and it's all going well. But as you progress, as I mentioned earlier, you certainly realize that that is not what teaching is all about. So I think in my journey, I think there are a number of elements that make you a successful teacher. And the first one would be understanding what you're teaching and how you're teaching it. So a good foundation in pedagogy, which is so important for music, classroom music. I mean, I'm certainly Kodai trained, and that is just amazing to have that foundation, whatever your pedagogy is, as long as you are sure of what you're doing. That's the first step. But you can know it all and then not be implementing it well. So the other part is that implementation and connecting with your students, engaging your students. So it's how you're delivering your lessons. And in some ways, if you don't have that student engagement, it doesn't matter how much does it? Like if you haven't got the kids with you, they're not going to be learning and moving forward. And that, I suppose, also when you think about your kids, you need to know where they're at as well. So I've been at my school for, I think you said before, since 2012. So that's a long time. So I know my kids really well because we have that luxury, don't we, of most of us getting the same kids from year to year. So we know where they're at. But if you're coming into a new school, you really do need to think about what do they know already? What don't they know? Where am I meeting them? Because if we're going to go in too hard or too low, we're going to probably lose them as well. So, so connecting and understanding what your students need and understanding what you're teaching and how you're teaching. And I think if you're ticking all those boxes, you are going to have some successful outcomes.
I love it. I love it. So true. It's so true.
It's hard to do it all, though, isn't it? I mean,
hard. It's almost impossible, really. The craft of teaching, I think you have to accept, is actually impossible. You can't be everything for everyone, which is actually another question when you think about what is success. What is really successful for one group of students or one cluster of students or one individual student. There's so many layers, and because we teach hundreds of children, so I think it's got to come back to if you feel you're doing your best, I guess, like you said, if you
absolutely and if you have it if you have a criteria in your mind of what goals you're trying to achieve, then at least it's targeted as well. In terms of what you're trying to be successful at. And like you said, I mean, and I think that's a challenge. Certainly for me at my school, I find that differentiation and adjustments, because we are becoming more inclusive, and which I love, but if you don't have support in your room, so if you don't have a teacher aide coming with students who have the higher needs, that can be really challenging to meet every student where they are. And I'm not sure what the answer is there. I try to be as prepared as I can, but I don't know if I'm very successful at that.
Well, I think that's a journey we're all on, and we'll never have a proper answer. And I find too, if you're talking about those particular kids that are now being included, sometimes it's even a matter of resourcing. And you think, if I had a set of, I don't know, rhythm jigsaws that are just on tar and TT, even though I'm working on T-ticker and whatever with these grade 5s. But if I had something that was interesting for them, but at a lower level, but so I guess even if we had the ability to make a whole lot of resources and
that's a great idea. And share them, because that is such a great idea. I mean, I often will go to lower level activities. So if I had a grade 5 class and I had to make some adjustments and lower them, I would probably pull out some stuff I do with my younger students. But at the same time, you do need to connect it to the activity you're doing with the rest of the kids. So some of that would be amazing to actually put together a suite of activities that you could adjust around assessment tasks even, because that's a challenge too.
That would be, and assessment tasks would be a great place to start, wouldn't it? Here is the task. And I know that Deb and I are working on that a little bit in our classrooms. So if you're doing a rhythm composition task, then you would just try to change the elements and the process and the materials and things. But wouldn't it be good if there was something that ready-made? Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
We'll put it on the list of things to do in the future, shall we, Miranda?
Let's do that.
All right. Now, what's one of the most creative lessons or lesson segments that you've ever taught, and what made it special?
Okay, so this was an easy one for me. So every year since, before I came to Wilston, actually. I've been doing this for a long time, this unit of work. And I just call it body percussion, and it's for year 6. And we always do it in term 3 in year 6 every year. And as I've done it for many years now, I've tweaked it as we go. But it's just so much fun for the kids and for me. And I look forward to that unit every single year. I have created it, but obviously I've taken things from other places. And basically, the students, we learn about body percussion as an art form, and also we link it to culture and to education as well. So we sort of delve a little bit deep in the theory of that. Then we learn some rudiments. And then the culmination is for the students in small groups to create a body percussion performance together. We video that, and then we watch our performances back and reflect on that and respond to that. And I think I didn't do it this last year, but I have done a responding task where they compare like a professional or a different body percussion performance to their one, and they link, the musical elements that they used and compare them between what they've seen in the other clip. So it's I really love it, and the kids love it. And the best thing about the outcomes, I think, are the boys love it. Every single kid gets involved. They come up to my room at lunchtime to practice, yeah. So they are just fully committed. Not all the students, but most of them. And it's the kids that you don't expect, because often it's the kids that shine in our rooms that have other musical experience. Like they might play the piano or they might be in the choir. But this activity and this whole unit, you see those kids who don't normally get up and have a go, just really taking it on. And when we do the reflection, often I'll get, "This is the best unit we've ever done, Mrs. Charters." And so I've never wanted to put that one to the side. I love it every year. And last year we actually got kaboom percussion, and I think you might have had some experience with kaboom, Debbie. Yes. So they came to us in term 2, and so that was a perfect segue to lead into term 3 with year 6. But again, we did that across the whole school. And aren't their resources amazing? Like that resource pack they give you? Incredible. I will be using that. Yep.
I am so in love with Josh and Kat and and their team, their whole team. And in fact, I'll put a link in the transcript to their podcast, because they've been on the podcast previously.
Ooh,
and I just connected with them again briefly for the Kodai National Conference in Melbourne at the end of 2024, and they were there, and we went to one of their sessions. So engaging and so musical, and I just love their resources. I can thoroughly recommend. I'll put the link to buy their books with the links to the private YouTube channel, and honestly, just gold. They're the sticks and the cups and the I don't know.
And the choices of music they have in their activities as well. Like they're just really quality. It's quality.
Quality. I just use the classical one and the pop one all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. We agree. We're Kaboom fans. And how much the kids love it, and the fact that you do that unit for year 6. How amazing. Oh, yeah, I want to do that now too. And, the other thing that crossed my mind as you were saying that, anyone who has ever taught year 6, which for people overseas, that's our last year in primary school, that term 3 of 4 is when they start getting very wiggly.
Definitely hard to engage.
Yeah, that's when they start thinking, this primary school stuff, we're almost high school. So I am too cool for this school. I am a big fish that has outgrown this pond. And I know every single teacher out there knows the sort of thing I'm talking about. What a perfect thing to put in to counter those growing attitudes.
Definitely. Yep. And it will work. And you could, create something, even if it's just 3 or 4 weeks of that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a whole term even, but it's really, really engaging. And I still layer it with, other musical concepts if we're working on a specific rhythm. You could even include that in the composition. I don't, because I like to keep it fairly free. But there's so much you can do with it, and it's so engaging.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing. That was very valuable.
No
Uh,
worries.
what's one piece of music every student should experience?
Right. I've thought about this a little. I could pick something, a piece of music that I love. I could pick a piece of music that's a great teaching piece, like that might focus on a particular element. But I actually, when I was thinking about this, I brought it back to who we are as Australians, actually. I thought about Waltzing Matilda because I just think that we all should be familiar with that song. We should experience that song, and we should also be nurturing our Australian heritage. And it doesn't have to be Waltzing Matilda; it could be an Indigenous piece of music, a folk, linked around our folk music. But that song has so much you can do with it in terms of teaching to the whole school. You could do it for Anzac Day. There are so many different versions of that song. There's picture books. There's lots to talk about in the prose, so the poetry. So I pretty much do it every year. Last year we did do it for Anzac Day, but we did the Queensland version.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was a little twist on it. And interestingly, all the kids preferred the original. They were like, "No, Miss Stutters, I think we like the other one better." So it was just interesting for them to have that sort of the different melody and different take on it. But you can do that from prep up to grade 6, and you might get a few curly questions around the end of the song from the preps. Did he die? Is it true?
There's such a thing as ghosts. What did the
Yes.
ghost
What's a
do?
ghost? What's a
Yep.
ghost? So I try to kind of limit that, not do too much talking in the lower years. But I really think we have to protect those songs, because like Botany Bay and Click Go to Shears, and they're just part of who we are as Australians. And I know our heritage goes further back than that. But I'm really aware of that and not losing that, because I think even with Christmas carols and things, I feel like we're losing part of that as well. And I just think that as educators, we need to be touching on those things. So I think that's a great song to be making sure that our kids experience.
Thank you. I love that. And yes, I sort of struggle with the Christmas carols thing at the end of each year, because I traditionally made sure that we have at least informally sung through Away in a Manger and Silent Night and those sort of things. And now I shy away from them because of, issues,
Absolutely.
inclusivity and different religions, and how much should
Yeah.
I do. We're questioning so much today, look, I think we should be questioning a lot of what we do, but
Mm.
it's putting us, I'm feeling sometimes like we're on a bit of quicksand.
I agree. I agree. Every time I pick a song, even for choir, I go, is this appropriate? I better just double check the lyrics, because I might have done that song in the past, but maybe now it's not,
Mhm.
okay. And I'm constantly checking myself. Sounds like you are too.
Yes. And I think we
Mm.
need to, but we also
Yeah.
hopefully will get to slightly firmer grounds in some ways. But I do agree we have to make sure. What comes to mind is throw the baby out with the bathwater. We
Mm.
don't
Yeah.
go, okay, well, because we don't want cultural appropriation and we need to be inclusive. And so let's throw out everything from the past. I think we have to guard against doing that. So I'm
Oh, absolutely. Because it is our past. It's part of that story, the narrative. It's part of the truth. So we need to be aware of that. Anyway, that's my take on it.
I agree. And I agree Waltzing Matilda should be there. What's the biggest challenge you face as a music teacher, and how do you address it?
Mm.
And as a music teacher, before you answer too, I think listeners need to think, okay, you've been at the school for quite a while, so like your challenges will be different. If you've got to transfer next year to a school without a music background, your challenges would be quite different. So I'm
Very.
interested to hear what your challenges are as someone with a very established program.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier about the inclusivity. So I find that a challenge in classes, just making sure that I'm catering to all the students and the student engagement is happening on all levels. So, and I, some classes are more successful than others. So that's something I'm aware of, and I'm striving towards getting better at, and that's part of preparation as well. My biggest challenge for me personally is probably time. Just having time to do everything and not and really draw the line. Like I find that work takes up a lot of my brain power and time, and even just having half an hour with the kids as well. I'm an over planner, so I don't always get done what I would like to in my lessons. So, and that's a personal thing. Like that's something I probably need to bring back and just reflect on. But time also, like when, you only get that one lesson with kids a week, or we do at my school. So if something else comes up, like the sports carnival or the science competition or whatever, you lose that lesson. You're constantly trying to make up time. Where was I this week with that class? I find that challenging. How do I balance it all out, catch up with kids on assessment, all of that kind of stuff. So I find that really challenging. It'd be great. I reckon if we had 40-minute lessons or 45-minute lessons, that would be my perfect, because you've got time to get the kids in, get them out, and really get into something. I think an hour might be too long, but it would be nice to have that little bit of extra time, wouldn't it? Do you have that at your school? Do you have any extra, like, longer lessons? Oh, you have double lessons, don't you?
Yes, I have only half-hour lessons, but prep 1, 2, 3, I have 2 lessons a week.
Yes,
and
that's right.
The 2, I would rather have 2 half hours than an hour any day.
Yeah,
it does mean the teachers have to bring them up. I know it's not convenient for them, but like learning anything, smaller things. But boy, if I was in a 1 a week school, which is every other school if they're lucky these days, absolutely, I think 40 or 45-minute lessons would be amazing. But I will certainly miss that at the gap now.
Yes, you will. Yeah. So I think probably my biggest challenge is we're well supported at my school in terms of the administration and the parents. So as you said earlier, if I was moving to a different school, that might be something that could become challenging. But at the moment, we're okay at Wilston. We still have our individual music program, and the kids all get their half an hour a week, which is fabulous. So I'm very lucky, and the kids are very lucky. So I think that's probably for me the challenges that I face on a daily basis. And energy. As I'm getting older, I need to keep the energy going.
Yes, I can understand that, because it's a bit like being the Wiggles on speed sometimes,
it is.
isn't it?
It's like I feel like maybe this isn't just how I teach, but I do feel like a lot of our days performing, or it's not just sit down at your desk, guys, and let's have some quiet time, quiet reading. We are on when we're in front of those kids all the time. And it's even that in itself is, you have to manage that.
Yes,
yourself.
and I think that's something that class teachers don't have an understanding of, because they haven't lived it. Like, even if they understand, what's the word?
Cognitively, or they
even if they understand, they still can't feel it, and I've been a classroom teacher, and there are times when you're really, really tired. Let's have 10 minutes of silent reading. Now, our 30 minutes is so valuable. Even if we were able to have 10 minutes of silent reading, I guess our equivalent would be 10 minutes of watching this video, I guess, or listening to this piece of music. But I feel guilty, because those kids only have 30 minutes. If you take 10 minutes to do something where you just, it's not high quality, I guess, in your own opinion, you're taking a third of their learning time that week. Or if you do something slack for a whole lesson, say, which has to happen sometimes, you've taken away their whole week of music learning. So I think that what we do in a short amount of time has big implications.
Yeah, it does. And that's why that high impact, the way that we teach is high impact throughout the whole lesson, because of that reason. Yeah, which is, yeah, but we do have to look after ourselves too, don't we? So it is okay to put that video on if you need to. It is okay just to, have that downtime.
Yes.
And, I think we need to be a bit kind to ourselves as well. And everybody's timetable is different as well. You might have a really tough, my Wednesday's a killer. Like everyone has that day where you just go, how am I going to get through this day? So you've really got to look after yourselves at those times, I think. There was one other challenge, and I think it's worth mentioning, and your listeners might be able to even, I don't know, if you do have a comment thing, I don't know, just some ideas around this. I find that I've got in a bigger school, so the repetition of teaching the same lesson in a block as the years have gone by, I find very challenging. And I don't think there's really an answer for it other than reframing it and trying to make each lesson better. That's how I look at that. I try not to change it up too much, because if I do that, then I lose track of what
Then you
I've
get
done with each
confused.
class.
Yep.
Yeah. We can take notes, but even then, like, who's got time to go back and check that before you do the lesson? So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Debbie, but I do find that a little bit mind numbing at times. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a challenge.
Look, 100%. I know what you're saying. I absolutely know what you're saying. And I think the only way that I've coped with it as well is just as you said, is to go, okay, it wasn't as smooth as it could be. I'm going to just tweak my introduction there, and I'm going to do this before I do that. I sometimes change the
Yes,
order of what I
yes,
cover. Yeah.
yes, that's
The
great to
other
do.
the other thing I work on in my own little head is transitions.
Yep.
Yeah, so that if we're going from this till this, and I do it that way with the first class, and the second class comes in and thinks, "Ooh, I could do a blah blah in that transition that'll connect them together." So, like, to give an example, in as we're moving from one thing to another, I might just decide in the second class, I'm going to clap the rhythm of our next song. See if you can work out what it is.
Yep.
So that I've not it's added something, I guess, for the kids, but it's added a transition as well, and it keeps me slightly entertained. But I absolutely, like you, I have tried it in hard copy lesson plan books, and electronically I've written down, 2A did this, not this, and
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, yeah.
and I've had those little notes, and I've oh, I can't cope. I can't cope because I'm not going to remember in my grade 2 lessons next week to go, now let me check if 2A did all those. We've got too many other variables in our
Yeah,
life. Yeah. So
definitely.
I'm
Yeah,
with you, but that's
yeah,
all I can think of is to play around
yeah.
with delivery and transitions.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, I agree. It would be great if anyone wants to email in some ideas,
Mm.
info@crescendo.com.au. I'll pass them on to Miranda. Or
Please.
actually, do you know what? We should put that as a discussion item in the Crescendo community on
Yeah,
Facebook.
great idea.
See
I
what
love
people
that.
do. Okay, action item for Debbie later. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
All right. Next question. Have you ever had a teaching moment that completely changed the way you think about music education?
Mm. I've probably had lots of moments over my 20 years, but I probably can't remember all of them. I think, again, for me, I've had uh, periods of time where I've seen development of students, where it's changed how I think about what I do and what we do. So, just to give you an example, and this is probably the most recent one, I think it was around COVID. We had a little boy who'd been in choir since grade 3, and he had Down syndrome, and he actually was voted in as one of our choir captains that year, which was just beautiful. And I was probably the first time I'd had to manage sort of a sort of a higher needs student in that kind of role. But I had the learning support team on side with me, and his parents were amazing. And just that growth of that year, like, he's always loved music, but this external element that gave him the ability to grow and, I don't know, just blossom, I suppose is the word. He had to be a compere at our spring concert. He had to help, organise the choir rehearsals in the morning. Aside from, being a committed singer in the choir as well. And look, he had this gorgeous little low voice, that he'd always pump out in all of our songs. But to me, I was like, I've always been a bit more like, high achiever, got to, everything's got to be perfect. This was just so beautiful, and his growth was amazing. And I learnt so much, and I thought, you know what, this is what we're about here. And that can happen in the classroom, or it can happen in a musical ensemble. And then the next year I had a little girl who was ASD, and she had anxiety, and her speech that she gave to get the position of choir captain was just so vulnerable and so authentic. She ended up being a choir captain as well. So I've just had a few kids who I've really just seen that massive change and been able to be part of that process for them. And what we do in music, that's what it's about. It's not just about learning the notes, and it's not just about giving a perfect performance. It's about the whole person, I think. So that's been an amazing journey for me. Probably in the last 5 years or so, I've really been more aware of that, and really thinking about those students who may not always be shining with their hands up all the time, but everybody can grow in what we do, and we don't always see it. I think that's the thing, we've got to look for it too sometimes.
That's beautiful.
Thank
you. Let's go on to the funniest or most unexpected.
I don't know about this one. I've had some interesting, I'm sure we all have some interesting pictures when we kids have drawn like musical instruments. So last year I had a viola, which I sent to my instrumental strings teacher, Catherine Payne. So someone drew a viola, which looked very much like some part of the male appendage.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
No,
the long
we've all
neck
had
and
that.
Yes,
yeah. It was kind of puffy down the bottom, and the neck was like. Anyway, so but you get stuff like that all the time. I think one moment I remember was we were doing our it wasn't in the classroom, but it was at our concert that we do every year for the music program, and the choir was singing a song called Tiger Tiger, and the audience just started laughing. Like they were just laughing their heads off. And like we're in the middle of the song. It was in our outdoor area at school. And like the kids and I are just going, I'm like, come on, let's be professional. We have to keep going.
Song's not funny.
No, it wasn't a funny song at all. It was a serious song.
Beautiful song.
So this cat from the neighborhood had walked on stage, a ginger like cat that looked like a tiger, like was coming on stage while we were singing the song from just the general neighborhood and walking around enjoying the music. And when we realized after we'd sung it, that was pretty funny. It was like very serendipitous. I don't know. The cat must have known the song was about his kind. Anyway,
great stories. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Oh, you've made my day. And now I'm remembering all of the pictures that I have as well. So hey, there's another discussion. Put the photos you've taken, because I usually take a quick little snapshot of it because they're funny. No student names ever. We are very
no.
But
redact the names.
Oh, okay. Now, taking the term teaching tool very loosely, what is perhaps your favorite or one of your favorite teaching tools?
I'm going to be a little bit boring here. I really love the personal whiteboards. The little student whiteboards with one side's the blank side, the other side I have the staves on. Just with your whiteboard pen and your marker. I just think they are such an amazing tool to use in our room when we have a short amount of time, because you can use those things for so many purposes. Formative assessment, knowing where the kids are at, what do they know, what they don't know. Hold up your card when you give them a question. You can put your notes on the stave. You can do composition. You can do rhythmic dictation. You can use it as a leaning, like a leaning folder for your worksheets. Like they're just so flexible. And if you don't have a set of those, or you've got a set in the cupboard somewhere, get them out, because the kids really enjoy using them too. It gives them something tangible. I mean, I'm pretty firm with how we use them, and we don't draw in the back of the erasers, and we don't push our pens too hard. So you need to be explicit in how you set that up, and the routines of getting them or collecting them within the lesson. But I just think that they are such a worthwhile teaching tool. So that's my first one. I do have a couple of others. I think that Crescendo and Music Play Online, absolutely worthwhile subscribing to for resources. So both of those.
I'm going to interrupt here and say, yeah. I did not ask Miranda to say that.
No, she didn't. No, she did not. No, but I'm a subscriber, so that is the truth. So they're both like, and especially when I've been teaching for a long time, which many of your listeners probably have too, sometimes you just need that little, what's something else I can do with this concept, or how can I teach this differently? So, even if you're just jumping on to find a new way to tackle something, it's worthwhile. With Music Play Online, I really like, they have it's in the solfa section, I think. They have like interactive board you can use with the staff, and place the solfa notes on the lines or spaces. And they have just one line, they have two lines. They sort of stagger it so you can use it across your year levels, which I really like, because the kids can see it up on the screen. They can be working on what they're doing. You can get kids up to also move them around. So I really like that tool within Music Play Online. And there's a couple of other things. I mean, I use Canva a lot, and as an IT tool in the classroom, our school has had Shobi before, which I've stored a lot of work on. Unfortunately, we've moved away from that now to QLearn. And when I say unfortunately, it's only just because I have to learn how to use QLearn, because I haven't learned properly yet. But I love Shobi. I thought it was very easy to use, not as a music platform, but as a work place to put things and to share things, like learning walls and things like that. So we could create that as a class, and then the kids would have that in their iPads and be able to access those quite easily. So there's a few things there. Hopefully someone might get something out of that.
Thank you. We might pop a few links in there too for people, because I don't know if people in Australia all know that you can purchase Music Play Online subscription through Crescendo. And I actually just have to check with exchange rates and things, but it certainly was, when I set it up, cheaper than buying it through the States or Canada. So if you buy it through Crescendo and you're in Australia, it will be cheaper for you. So I do have to check, because the trouble with things like that is, with exchange rates, things change very frequently. So I do say that, believing it's the case, but I should just double check. But that's why I set up that deal with them, so that it was. So I set that up with Denise. She very sadly passed away, because we really wanted to help Australians get access to that great resource. Yeah. Now, what advice would you give to a graduate you?
I think find a good mentor if you can. Am I answering it from when I was a graduate, or if I was a graduate now, or whatever I feel like?
Yes, because the answer would vary slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, you take whichever bench.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think when I was a graduate, I think I was I felt like I probably, this is just my personality, I had to be perfect. I had to really know all my stuff. But you know what? As we've said, we are on a massive learning curve as a teacher. So go easy on yourself. But I think of having a good mentor to go to, or a teaching partner, someone who can share that load with you, and someone who has experience, so that they can guide you when you may need some advice. Also, I think, I think and also not overloading yourself, perhaps. I think as a graduate, just take it slow. and yeah, not too much pressure. But I mean, these days graduates may not have as much musical training as some of us had, when we went through. So that's a whole other question, I think, if you're a graduate now.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Oh, all right. What do you wish more people understood about being a music teacher?
Well, we don't just teach songs to the kids. We actually have a strong pedagogical understanding, and we teach sequentially. We know what we're doing. And music. I mean, I think a lot of people understand that music has value beyond learning the dots on the page. And I think that a lot of people, particularly with Dr. Anita Collins and her work around neuroscience these days, we do have a bigger perspective of how music can help us in lots of other cognitive areas or behavioural areas. But I think that we actually work really hard. We are qualified teachers who know what we're doing, hopefully, and we work. We don't just make up the half an hour as MCT. That's my take there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think every music teacher listening right now is going, yes, amen.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, and look, it depends on the school you're into. Like, I think our parents at my school do value music, and they have had music in their lives, so they're happy to share that with their own children. In a different socioeconomic school, it might be quite different. So, yeah, but I still feel like I've got to do that even in my school. Like, I've still got to go even to admin sometimes, look, we're over here doing this amazing thing, really got to show people the value of what we're doing. Unfortunately, we have to push that.
I think you do constantly. You do constantly. And also, it's not just because you're in a fairly good socioeconomic area. It's like, don't negate the work that you do all the time. It's the fact that you have been there and, air quotes, selling yourself. No,
Yeah.
you're selling you're selling the music program, and
Yes.
you're convincing people this is worthwhile on so many levels, and you just can't stop because everybody has their own stuff, their own barrow to push, their own pressures. And if you don't keep saying, I'm here, look at the good stuff we're doing, and look at the meaning, look at the development of the little boy you were talking about who became your choir captain. That happened without you and the music program. So you've got to keep pointing those things out.
And Debbie, you actually gave me, you probably don't remember this, but you gave me a really good tip last year sometime. I can't remember when we were actually talking about this, but you recommended, using the school social media also for getting the program out there. So we have really been doing that religiously this year. Just stuff we do in classroom. We do, things that we do with the choir. You do have to be careful with permissions. Yes. I see a lot of schools pop stuff up and I go, I wonder if every child's got permission, because at our school it's a thing and we can't. So often we just get the backs of heads and things like that. But that's okay. You're still promoting what you're doing. And the parents see that, the administration see that, the kids get a kick out of it. So I think that's a really, really easy way to just, that slow drip of what we're doing, and we're here. Yeah.
Yes. Drip, drip,
drip, drip.
And you have to. And I think you and I have proven that, because we're both I'm not anymore. I miss you, the gap. Anyway, but even in established programs, you've got to keep going. Yeah, and I think that's a really good lesson for everyone. Miranda, I have loved this chat so much. I tell you what, I've got a whole list of things to email you about later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a whole lot of projects are circling in my head now.
You're such an ideas woman.
Lucky we're both hats, hey. All right.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really loved it, and I really appreciate being able to share what we do, and we need that. We all need to band together and really support each other.
We so do. But you're not going yet, because we have the fun rapid fire questions. It's nice to wrap up before we go. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
Here's your questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
What's the most underrated instrument?
The recorder.
Recorder.
I like the recorder. I still teach recorder. So there you go. That's mine.
Yes. You know, me too. All right. Who's your musical hero and how have they influenced you?
Oh, I've got three. Sorry. My first one is my husband because he is a professional musician and he's made a career out of it. So he's my hero. He also teaches me a lot about practicing and being disciplined. Number two is my beautiful friend, Beverly Barnett, who used to be the Beverly a Bear, who you probably know, Mrs. The Bear.
Yes, Bev a Bear.
So she was my mentor as a music teacher. So I learned from her in my pre-service time, and then I ended up working with her at Wilston when she decided to go part-time. So she has just been an amazing influence on me and my teaching, and she's such a beautiful person, and she still teaches piano. Like, she's just a really amazing model. So she's a hero for me. And also I really love, from a bigger perspective, Jacob Collier, who is an English performer, multi-instrumentalist, educator. He's just like a freak. So I just love him as well. So he's amazing.
Love it. Okay. What's a song or piece of music you wish you'd written?
It's one of Jacob's. It's called Little Blue. And if you haven't heard that song, there's an amazing clip of him singing it with a choir. I think it's called the Mahogany Sessions, and it's just like heaven to me. Like, I just love that song, and I've heard him do different versions of it too. Like, he released it on one of his albums in a more of a pop style, but I've heard him play it jazz on the piano. Like, it's just a beautiful song. The lyrics are amazing, and just his versions of it are incredible. So if I could write a song like that, I mean, wow, I'd be pretty proud of myself.
I love it. And okay, thanks for giving me something else I have to chase up and listen to. Thank you. And we'll put the link in. I tell you what, There's going to be a lot of links in the notes for this episode. I can send you a link to that one. Thank you. Yes, you can email me the link. Thanks. So I listened to the one the version you're talking about. That would be great. If you could perform a duet with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Maybe Jacob Collier again. Yeah. Also, David Bowie. I'd love to do a duet with David Bowie. Like, I don't know, Under Pressure, or I could be Freddie Mercury.
And can I say, a very relevant song to choose for music educators.
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. All right, here we go. Final question. If music teachers had a theme song, there you go. C, answer to question 4, Under Pressure. No.
Under Pressure.
Mine's
better than that.
Oh, good. If music teachers had a theme song, what do you think it should be?
It should be Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Because that's us. So that's my pick for our theme song, because we're all pretty amazing.
Oh, I love that. And I'm not supposed to, because it's supposed to be just rapid fire, but can I just share a little bit here?
Sure.
When I left the Gap at the end of 2024, it was all fairly last minute, the way that it all happened to roll out. And the beautiful Carmen Forgan, who's recently been on an episode of the podcast, I've got it over there somewhere, she reworked the words of Simply the Best, and they all sang it to me as a farewell.
No way! Oh, wow. I did not know that.
No.
Wow, that's perfect.
It was, yes, I'm going to get a little teary if I keep talking about it, but it was
so beautiful.
Really lovely. Yeah.
And true. Wow. Perfect for you, Debbie.
But I think it should be our theme song. I'm with you there. Miranda, an absolute delight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do, Debbie, with Crescendo. And it's awesome. So thank you very much for having me.
As we know, laughter relieves stress. Don't lose sight of the funny side of life. Did you hear about the fire at the circus? The heat was intense. Thank you so much for watching our Crescendo Music Education Podcast. For more information about all things Crescendo, including membership and music education resources, visit us at crescendo.com.au. Don't forget to like and subscribe.